Hi guys, some of you out there have requested me do a build video on some of my pods and stuff, so I thought I'd better start doing a few. This is the brand new pod. It's for the GoPro 3 model. Somebody requested one, so I've redesigned it, managed to get out of a CAD model and redesigned it around the GoPro 3. These are the parts for that. These are the parts for the Skiwalker pod, the large Skiwalker pod. There's 10 parts to the Skiwalker pod, and there's 21 parts to the pod itself, to the pan tilt pod. This particular pod is the direct drive pan and tilt pod, so the servo is directly part of the hinge of the tilt mechanism. Now, if you're going to build this thing, I like to first of all get everything out on the table so I can see what everything is and make sure everything is there. It's always best for the first time you're going to put one of these together, I do it myself, is put things in the wrong order, then I have to take it apart again. So if you put it together as a dry run or follow this video, you should be okay. Some of the components might be a little bit tight fit, so it might be an idea to have a pin file together. I make it tight so you can actually put it together and it holds together on its own. I've put them together. I usually use wood glue for this. White wood glue does the job very nicely. Some people prefer a little bit of a gap around the edge for the glue, but like I said, it's the gluing part of it. I recommend these things. I recommend the white glue. You can use other ones if you like, but white wood glue I find is the best. It holds it together the best. Some people prefer super glue. I find it slightly brittle and it could break apart. Okay, on to the builds. As I said, there's a specific order for these parts to go together, and I'll have to see if I can remember it as I go along, and you'll see how we get along. So first of all, we start off with the pan mechanism. So we get the base. This is what the GoPro sits in, and we get the back edge component. This is the back of this goes to the back of the GoPro. So we pop that in first of all, and like I said, put it down on the ground and just push it in. It's a nice tight fit. Then we can start with the sides. Now I've made these sides fit just in case some of you guys want to put live from out of your GoPro. It also saves me a bit of time. I've done it to both sides. I know you don't need the same hole on both sides, but this saves me time in my other models which I produce, because I also do a GoPro on its own pan and tilt without the analog camera. This is the actual analog camera model. So we'll start to put this thing together. So this is the side part. All these things go together. There's the front edge. So the back edge has got a tilt to it, so quite a tight fit. Just push it in. It goes into the hole here, but just onto the edge. Then we can get the next one. Place. Wrong hole. There you go. Place that together. Then you can get the front edge. Again, if you put these ones on here first, you wouldn't be able to get the noggins into the holes, because you'd have to, disassemble it again and put it back on. As you can see, this is going to go into those holes in there and onto the side. Now this is going to be a tight fit because we've got 3 components, so just gently ease it around the outside edge. You can put it on a flat edge and then put a ruler on here if you want, if it's very tight, to push in. But like I said, if you go around it gently and just ease it in as you go, you usually get it in there. It's quite a tight fit, it fits in there well. Again, you can loosen it off with a pin file if you need to. So the GoPro sits inside, the new GoPro 2. On this one I've actually left a hole out for some of you proud GoPro 2 owners. You can actually see the name of the GoPro 2 coming through. And yes, so right, next part is the second part of the hinge for the GoPro, for the hinge mechanism where the servo fits in. This is just a free one. You've got the other parts here which will have the servo to go in afterwards. So this can go in. Goes in one way. There's a tiny little ridge there which sits on this edge, and it goes into these two holes in the centre. So there you go, that fits in nicely. This hole here is left open. This would be for the strap, a Velcro strap, to go up over the top to hold the GoPro in to stop it from coming out. And then here's the servo. In fact, I'll leave those, I'll put those in afterwards because they could fall out. I'll just show you this part first of all over here. This is for the analog camera. So we have a couple of these, so they go in as so, goes in as well, quite stiff, and then we can put the camera part onto the back of it. Like, and so then we have a piece which I've left in the bag, which is there. That goes in like so. That holds your camera back. The reason I've made this part is a spacer, so your camera lens doesn't stick out. I find with the GoPro it's got such a wide angle, you can actually see, or almost see, depending on what camera you've got, the lens. This just puts your analog camera just slightly back a little bit to give you more room on the wide angle lens of the GoPro. So that's pretty much it. Now we can put on the servo parts. These here, there's 4 different parts to the servo holders. 2 of them have got notches out. These go at the front, as you can see there. This will just sit. These are very tight to fit in. They fit in there as so. You can actually put the servo in when you're doing this to glue them in, to get them straight. But what I would recommend is just be careful you don't get glue on the edge of the wood to stick to the servo. You want to be able to take the servo in and out obviously, but you might want to place the servo in there to get these upright and straight. Basically though, they just sit into the holes. These are glued in. So there's one. The servo just slides down into it, and then we've got 2 more here. They just sit into the gaps. Like so. And again, when you've got the servo in, all these will straighten up, but that's basically it. Your servo goes in here. The servo itself is one of the axle components which match up with this one once it goes in. And that's pretty much it for the top half. Now we come to assembling the bottom section of the your pan mechanism. This also has to be put around a particular way. If we have the sticking out part here at the front edge of the front, also your sharpest tilts, if you like, sharpest angles on these are at the front edge. Okay, these here are to give you a little bit more strength. They go into these holes here, and they go in with the tallest section facing upwards. So they literally just go in there like that, loop them down and around, and they'll be glued in, and it just gives you some extra support. So once they're in place, this is sometimes a little bit tricky because it can be quite tight with all of them, or sometimes it'll just slide in. That's not too bad. Just get a ruler there and just push the edges down, make sure they're firm. And there's one side. Now we have the next side, so we'll put these in again, the tallest edges to the top. Place them inside the holes. They sort of go down and loop around to get them in place. And all this is going to be glued up, obviously, like I said. Right, with this side we have a recess here. This is for the servo horn to go into. A lot of the servo horns have a ridge going down into them, so this here locates it. I've got a couple of holes here which line up on the servo horns with the servos for this. I'm using the high-tech, I think they're the HS81s. You better check with my forum information there for that. I think they also do an 82, which is the metal gearbox one. I would recommend the metal gearbox one because when you land with these, you're going to have inertia of the head wanting to go forward, especially on a heavy landing, and you could end up breaking your servo cogs. So metal gearboxes on them are always best for this. I would recommend them. Now, if you didn't have a metal gearbox and you wanted to go with the standard plastic ones, I'd recommend to leave the screws out of here and make it just a screw up tight fit on your servo, so if it was a rough landing it can actually spin in here instead of being held in with pins or screws on the leverage of the servo horn, if that makes sense. It just gives you a little bit of a fail-safe, if you like, a little bit of give to save your servos. But as I said, I would recommend the metal cogs. They're, you know, to me it's a necessary thing, really. Okay, this one here with the recess facing forward. So I'll just line it up. Yeah, like that. And then obviously once it's in, you'd glue it in. Now as this is gluing, you'd make sure that all of this is square. You can put it on the ground on a flat surface and put a square up to the edges and make sure they're square. Or you may already have this one glued together with the servo in it. You could actually place it together as so, with the servo in, and that'll hold it all dead straight. And that's basically it. That's your two components for the pan and tilt GoPro 2 camera holder. Okay, now I'd like to just run through the putting together of the Skiwalker pod. I do a few different pods. This happens to be the Skiwalker one here. Not as much to it as the pan and tilt mechanism. Quite straightforward, really. Again, there is an order to things, to putting these things together. So if I can remember, let's see how she goes. So first of all, get things in order, get it on the table, make sure you've got all the components, and then start thinking of how this is going to go together. So what I've usually done on these is, if you look at the laser cutting on most of my stuff, where it's possible, with a couple of exceptions, I've always tried to laser the parts with what I call a face edge. This is the edge which is facing upwards when a laser cuts it. There's like usually a light brown haze around the outside parts. These usually face out, my face edges. The inside sometimes have little scorch marks and pieces. This helps me to remember the sort of orientation of how things to go together, and also it gives you a nice clean face when you get these. Some people might like the wood look and give them a coat of something like a clear varnish or an acrylic varnish of some sorts. Other people might want to spray paint them different colours. Black is quite a favourite colour of people's. So like I said, face edges, you know, look out for it. Just another quick tip there. Okay, so we'll start putting this together. So you can see here that they just all click in. Some of the parts aren't haven't got lids on them. This will come apparent for you in a second. So you put that one into there. These holes here, there's nothing to go in these. This is for if some people want to put their video sender on here. You can put either Velcro or cable ties for it to hold it in place. So them together. Again, they're quite stiff. You can put them on the ground, as I explained before, and push with your ruler just to give you a flat edge if you like. This is a bit tricky, we've got a piece sticking out here, so I just did it with my hand, but you could put it on a block of some sort. So you're going together there, and we put the other side on. And just line them up, it's a little bit tricky. You can hear them all clicking into place there, and the back piece. So there you have the top section. I've left this out. You can put like a 1 amp free cell lipo in there just to control your pan tilt mechanism, or or your camera mechanisms, or your cameras and stuff, for you flyers who use 2 separate batteries, one for power and one for video. So that gives you a nice handy place where you can connect it up without taking your lids off or anything else. There's on this part, when it goes on, there's another couple of slots you can put a piece of Velcro strapping over, whatever you like to tie down your batteries with. So, and we've got the next part, clips in place like so. Then we'll start getting a little bit long and a bit tricky if you like, but we'll see how we get along here. Right, so again, your face edge is out. You can sort of see what that's how that's going now, like that. In fact, let's put this one, take that out so we can do it. Servo hole at the front, furthest away. Even I'm forgetting the order of things slightly. So like that, there, that's the one. Down. Sorry about that, I just had to remember then quickly. Okay, so we've got it, these are facing down obviously, yeah, right, okay. A bit of trickery here just to try and show you. Obviously you're not trying to do it to the camera, so you're going to find this a lot less tricky, but basically they go together like so. They don't fly out your hands. Let's just start putting this in at one end just to give me a little bit of a fixing. That's better. Before I push it all the way in, I've got to come onto here like so. There we go. And that's going to hold those together nicely. Now we can come back and put this back into the compartment here, and then we've got an end piece. Excuse me. This is the same either way, so we can just place that, making sure they're all lined up nicely there like that, and there you have it. Then we can hold these together in our hand and place it down on top of where the Skiwalker base is. Now we can start just pushing this in gently into the holes, making sure everything is lined up as it goes. Just push them down in tight there, and there you have it, one Skiwalker pod to take your mechanism. Obviously you have a servo in there, so that'll be mounted on top of there, and without that falling apart because it'll be glued, goes on top, and that's it. Thank you for watching.